The message arrived on a Tuesday. Across Earth, every screen and display simultaneously flickered to show the same image. A panel of 7 alien beings seated at a curved table. Their appearances varied wildly, some with multiple limbs, others with skin that seemed to shimmer between colors, and one that appeared to be composed entirely of shifting crystalline structures. People of Earth, spoke the central figure, its voice translated into all Earth languages simultaneously. We are the Galactic Council, governing body of the civilized species within this sector of the galaxy. We have observed your development for centuries. The time has come to formally evaluate your species for potential membership. In Washington, D.C., President Williams called an emergency meeting. Representatives from every nation gathered while scientific teams analyzed the transmission. It wasn't a hoax. The signal had appeared simultaneously worldwide and originated from beyond lunar orbit. 3 days later, massive ships appeared in Earth's orbit. They sent no further communications, simply remaining in position, their hulls reflecting sunlight like artificial moons visible even during daylight. James Miller, a veteran diplomat known for his level head during crisis, led the human delegation. A scholar of multiple languages and cultures, the 50-year-old had negotiated peace between warring nations on several occasions. If anyone could represent humanity well, it was him. The Council sent transport vessels to bring the human representatives aboard their command ship. James and his team of 12 specialists entered a vast chamber where representatives from 27 alien civilizations awaited them. "We have studied your species thoroughly," announced the Council leader, a tall being with 4 arms and skin that shifted between deep blue and purple. "Your history, your conflicts, your biology." For 1 week, the delegation answered questions about Earth's nations, wars, technological development, and cultural achievements. They provided data on human physiology, psychology, and societal structures. James felt increasingly uneasy as the questioning focused heavily on human conflicts rather than achievements. On the final day, the Council rendered their judgment. Species, human. Classification, aggressive predator with unstable social structures. Recommendation, quarantine. James stepped forward. "With respect, our history shows continuous improvement. We've overcome many of our violent tendencies, established global cooperation. Your species developed nuclear weapons before united governance," interrupted a council member with 6 eyes arranged in a circle around its head. "You've driven thousands of your own planet's species to extinction. Your nations still maintain armies despite no external threats." "That's not fair," James argued. "Many council species must have gone through similar developmental stages. None that reached your level of destruction while still divided," said the leader. "The risk you pose to galactic stability is unacceptable." The Council's decision was final. Earth would be contained within its solar system by an energy barrier. No human vessels would be permitted to travel beyond it. No further contact would be established until humans had evolved beyond their destructive nature, a process the Council estimated would take thousands of years. When the delegation returned to Earth, chaos erupted. Some nations threatened to launch nuclear strikes against the alien vessels, but military leaders quickly reported that missile systems worldwide had been neutralized. Within days, a shimmering wall of energy appeared at the edge of the solar system. Probes sent toward it disintegrated upon contact. Humanity was caged. In the aftermath, Earth's governments finally achieved what countless wars and crises had failed to do. Through unity, the Terran Alliance formed within months, combining resources and knowledge across all nations. Dr. Thomas Reed, a physicist from London, stood before the newly formed Alliance Council 1 year after the quarantine began. "The barrier operates on principles we can study," he said firmly. "No cage is perfect. Given time and resources, we will find a way through." The race to escape had begun. Humanity, for the first time in its turbulent history, had a single focus: to prove the Galactic Council wrong, and one day make them regret their judgment. 50 years passed since the barrier went up. Earth had changed dramatically. Where once nations competed, now humanity worked as one. The Terran Alliance unified all research, pooling resources toward a single goal: breaking free of their cosmic prison. Dr. Lisa Reed stood before the wall of equations that had consumed her father's life. Thomas Reed had died 10 years ago. His final words to his daughter whispered, "Keep looking." At 43, Lisa had spent her entire adult life continuing his work, studying the energy barrier that kept humanity trapped in the solar system. "I think I found it," she said, her voice barely audible in the silent laboratory. Her assistant, Marcus, looked up from his station. "Found what?" Lisa pointed to a section of equations. "It's not solid. The barrier pulses. There's a pattern." Her fingers traced the numbers. Every 42.3 hours, there's a micro fluctuation lasting approximately 1.2 seconds. "That's not much time," Marcus said, frowning. "No," Lisa agreed, "but it's enough for a signal. And if a signal can pass through." Within days, Lisa presented her findings to the Alliance Council. The chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. "We can send a probe through during these fluctuations," asked Council Leader Jackson. "Better," Lisa replied. "We can send a ship. A small one, specially designed to slip through the gap and immediately activate stealth systems." The Council approved Project Breakout immediately. For 3 years, engineers worked in secret bases on Mars, building vessels designed specifically to exploit the barrier's weakness. They incorporated every technological advancement humanity had made during their isolation: fusion engines, advanced materials science, and computing systems far beyond what existed before first contact. Captain Robert Stone was selected to lead the mission. At 35, he represented the first generation born after the quarantine, raised on stories of the stars beyond their reach. His crew of 6 were the best pilots, engineers, and scientists the Alliance could provide. "Remember," Lisa told them during the final briefing, "once through, you must remain undetected. The Council likely monitors the area beyond the barrier. Your ship's stealth technology should hide you from their sensors, but take no unnecessary risks." On launch day, tension filled the control center. Lisa's eyes remained fixed on her displays, tracking the barrier's energy patterns. "Fluctuation approaching in 3 minutes," she announced. "Breakout, prepare for launch sequence." The sleek vessel, named Pathfinder, moved silently toward the edge of the solar system, its systems running at minimal power to avoid detection. 60 seconds, Lisa called. Inside Pathfinder, Captain Stone gripped his controls. His heart pounded, but his hands remained steady. The entire crew sat in silence, years of training focused on this moment. 10 seconds. 5, 3, 2, 1. Go. Stone pushed the engines to full power. Pathfinder shot forward, accelerating toward what appeared to be solid energy. For a heart-stopping moment, the ship seemed to shimmer, caught between 2 states of existence. Then they were through. "Stealth systems active," reported Engineer Taylor. "No alarms detected." A collective breath released across the crew. Stone looked at the navigation display, seeing for the first time stars that no human had been allowed to visit. "We made it," he whispered. "Set course for the Proxima system." For 2 months, Pathfinder explored nearby star systems, avoiding Council patrol routes they gradually mapped. In the Aldebaran sector, they discovered an abandoned outpost on a small rocky planet. "It's not Council technology," Science Officer Rodriguez reported, examining the strange machinery. "It's older." The team carefully documented everything, collecting samples and data. When they accessed the outpost's computer systems, they found technical information unlike anything seen on Earth: propulsion systems, energy production methods, and materials science far beyond Council technology. Most importantly, they discovered the specifications for a drive system that operated outside Council detection methods. When Pathfinder returned through the next barrier fluctuation, The crew brought with them the keys to humanity's expansion. "This changes everything," Lisa said, examining the recovered technology. "The Council doesn't use this propulsion method. If we develop it ourselves, we could build ships that can move through space without them knowing." Stone finished. The Council had meant to cage humanity. Instead, they had created an invisible empire in waiting. 100 years after Pathfinder's historic journey, humanity had become a ghost among the stars. The Terran Alliance, now calling itself the Terran Confederation, operated in perfect secrecy beyond the barrier. Mark Stone, grandson of the legendary Captain Robert Stone, stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel Horizon. At 37, he had his grandfather's sharp eyes and steady nerves. The ship hovered at the edge of a system the Confederation had designated HC-291, far from any known Council activity. "Sensors show no artificial signals," reported his first officer, David. "The fourth planet looks promising. Atmosphere similar to Earth, abundant water." Mark nodded. "Take us in, standard approach. Full sensor sweep." This was the 43rd star system colonized by humans in the past century. Each new outpost followed strict protocols: build underground, minimize electromagnetic signatures, and always maintain the appearance of an uninhabited world. The Horizon descended through cloud layers to find rolling plains and dense forests. As they flew over a mountain range, something caught Mark's attention. "There," he pointed. "Those formations don't look natural." They landed near a series of regular stone structures, partially buried under centuries of soil and vegetation. The team donned environmental suits and approached cautiously. "This isn't Council architecture," said Dr. Anna Wright, the expedition's archaeologist. "The design elements are completely different." She ran her scanner over the weathered stone. "According to preliminary dating, these structures are over 50,000 years old. Inside the ruins, they found chambers filled with artifacts, strange devices, records inscribed in an unknown language, and murals depicting beings unlike any Council species. Most exciting of all was a sealed vault deep within the complex. It's still active," Anna whispered as they approached the faintly glowing door. After all this time, it took 3 days to safely open the vault. Inside, they discovered intact technology, devices that still function despite their age. Most important was a data repository containing detailed information about the civilization that built it. "They called themselves the predecessors," Anna explained during the team's briefing. "According to these records, they were among the first spacefaring species in this part of the galaxy, spreading across thousands of systems before the Council even existed." Mark studied the translated text on his screen. "It says they were driven to extinction." Anna nodded grimly. By the early Council, the predecessor's technology was developing along lines the Council's founding species considered dangerous. Rather than risk competition, they systematically eliminated them. The implications were staggering. The Galactic Council, which claimed to protect civilized space, had been built on genocide. When the Horizon returned to Alpha Base, humanity's first and largest colony beyond the barrier, the discovery triggered intense debate among Confederation leadership. Admiral John Wilson, commander of the growing human fleet, studied the predecessor technology with great interest. Their approach to physics was fundamentally different from current Council methods. "If we integrate these principles with our own developments, we could leap centuries ahead," finished Chief Scientist Maria Ross. "But more importantly, we'd be developing along technological paths the Council doesn't monitor or understand." Over the next decade, humans established outposts in 20 more systems, focusing on areas with traces of predecessor activity. Each ruin yielded new insights, gradually revealing the true history of the galaxy, one the Council had carefully erased from official records. In hidden shipyards orbiting distant stars, the Confederation built vessels incorporating predecessor principles. These ships were faster, more powerful, and most importantly, completely undetectable to Council sensors. Humanity now controlled over 200 star systems, all without the Council's knowledge. Mining operations on uninhabited worlds provided resources. Hydroponic farms and terraforming projects fed the growing population. Research stations pushed the boundaries of science beyond anything Earth had known before the quarantine. The silent empire grew, patient and watchful, knowing that eventual discovery was inevitable. When that day came, humanity would not be found cowering behind the barrier. They would emerge as a power unlike anything the Council had ever faced or feared. The Council patrol ship Enforcer moved through the Delton system on a routine survey mission. Its commander, Officer Krell, was bored. This region had been empty for centuries. Just another routine check of abandoned space. Commander, detecting unusual energy signatures from the fourth planet, reported the sensor officer. Krell's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. Specify unusual. Unknown technology, sir. Definitely artificial. And, the officer paused, there appears to be a settlement. Impossible, Krell said, moving to the console. This sector is uninhabited. The Enforcer moved closer, scanning the mysterious outpost. What they discovered shocked them. A thriving human colony of over 10,000 people. Humans, Krell whispered, beyond the barrier. The Council had nearly forgotten about Earth in the 150 years since the quarantine. Occasionally, a report would confirm the barrier remained intact, but no one had bothered to check if humans had found a way through. News of the discovery spread quickly through Council space. Emergency sessions were called as more patrols confirmed human presence in dozens of systems. The scale of the situation became clear. Humanity had escaped and established a significant foothold in the galaxy. On New Terra, the largest human colony and unofficial capital of the Confederation, Admiral Jack Wilson received the news with calm resolve. At 62, he had spent his career preparing for this moment. They'd found us, he announced to the Confederation Council. A patrol discovered the Delton colony yesterday. The Council chamber erupted in concerned voices. Some argued for immediate evacuation of exposed colonies. Others suggested more aggressive responses. We knew this day would come, Wilson said firmly. Our contingency plans are in place. I've already ordered our fleet to defense positions. 3 days later, a Council diplomatic vessel arrived at the edge of the New Terra system. It transmitted a simple message. Representatives of the Galactic Council request audience with human leadership regarding your illegal expansion. The message contained no threats, but the implicit meaning was clear. The Council expected compliance, just as they had when they first contacted Earth. Admiral Wilson personally led the delegation to meet the Council representatives aboard a neutral station hastily established in orbit. He wore the formal black uniform of the Confederation fleet, the silver Earth emblem on his chest, matched by the stars of 20 colony worlds on his shoulders. 5 Council representatives waited in the meeting chamber, their expressions ranging from curious to hostile. The leader, a tall being with iridescent scales, spoke first. I am High Counselor Traz. The Council is surprised by humanity's presence beyond the quarantine barrier. Wilson smiled thinly. The barrier was a challenge. Humanity enjoys overcoming challenges. This expansion violates Council decree, Traz continued. All human settlements must be abandoned immediately. Your people must return to your home system until properly evaluated for galactic citizenship. A younger Council member added, your technological development is concerning. Many devices we've detected utilize principles forbidden by Council regulations. Wilson looked at each representative in turn before responding. Humanity respects the Council's authority in Council space. However, we settled in unclaimed regions. As for our technology, we developed it independently, bound by no agreements we did not make. You misunderstand, Traz said, voice hardening. All space falls under Council jurisdiction. There is no unclaimed territory. That's not what we discovered in the predecessor ruins, Wilson replied calmly. The reaction was immediate. Shock and alarm crossed the Council members' faces. "The predecessors are a myth," said one quickly. "We've found 27 of their outposts," Wilson countered. "We've learned much from their records, including the true history of the Council's formation." Traz's scales darkened with anger. "This meeting is over. The Council demands immediate human disarmament and withdrawal to Earth. You have 30 days to comply." Wilson stood. "The Terran Confederation controls 237 star systems, High Counselor. We have a fleet of over 3,000 vessels. We have no intention of abandoning our homes." "Then you declare war on the Galactic Council," Traz said. "No," Wilson replied. "We declare our independence from it." As the human delegation departed, Wilson knew the real struggle was just beginning. Centuries of isolation had prepared humanity for this moment. But would it be enough against the combined might of 1,000 worlds? The Council struck first. 3 days after the failed diplomatic meeting, a fleet of 50 Council warships entered the Proxima system, humanity's oldest colony beyond the barrier. "They're targeting our orbital stations," reported Commander Helen Foster from the defense platform. "Civilian transports are still evacuating." Admiral Wilson watched the tactical display from his flagship, Defiance. The massive vessel represented humanity's finest engineering, incorporating both human innovation and predecessor technology. "Hold position until the civilians are clear," Wilson ordered. "Then execute Defense Pattern Alpha." The Council ships pressed their attack, clearly expecting an easy victory. Their intelligence suggested human military capacity was limited based on Earth's technology level before quarantine. They were wrong. As the last civilian ships jumped to safety, the true human defense revealed itself. 20 sleek vessels emerged from hiding positions behind Proxima's moons, their hulls gleaming with a strange, shifting material the Council sensors struggled to track. "All ships, weapons free," Wilson commanded. "Show them what happens when you cage humans for 2 centuries." The battle that followed shocked the Council forces. Human vessels moved in patterns that defied normal space tactics, their drives allowing maneuvers the Council had never encountered. Their weapons fired concentrated beams of energy that cut through Council shields as if they weren't there. "The Council formations are breaking," reported Wilson's tactical officer. "They're trying to regroup." Wilson leaned forward. "Target their command ship. Let's end this quickly." The Defiance fired its main weapon, a spear of brilliant light that connected with the Council flagship. The larger vessel's shields flared for a moment, then failed completely. Secondary explosions rippled along its hull. "Council forces are retreating," announced Commander Foster. "Confirmed 5 vessels destroyed, 12 severely damaged." Wilson nodded grimly. "Secure the system. Prepare recovery operations for any survivors." News of the human victory spread quickly. The Council had expected to crush the upstart humans in a single demonstration of force. Instead, they had suffered a humiliating defeat. Over the following weeks, the Council attempted strikes against 6 more human colonies. Each attack failed, with the Council losing ships they couldn't afford to sacrifice. Human forces, meanwhile, captured several intact Council vessels, yielding valuable intelligence. On the Council homeworld, emergency sessions dissolved into bitter arguments. "How are they defeating our best ships?" demanded one Council member. "These are primitives who should still be using chemical rockets." The military advisor's reply was grim. "Their technology doesn't follow normal development paths. They've somehow incorporated principles we abandoned ages ago as too unstable." "Predecessor technology," another member whispered. The humans weren't lying. Fear spread through Council space as reports of human capabilities circulated. Minor Council species began questioning the leadership's decisions. Some even sent secret messages to human space, seeking alliance. The Ardelians were the first to openly break with the Council. Their ambassador arrived at New Terra 6 months after the war began. "My people wish no part in this conflict," she told Wilson. "The Council's decision to quarantine humanity was made without our input. We seek peaceful relations." Within weeks, representatives from 4 other species arrived with similar messages. The Council's united front was crumbling. In a bold move, Admiral Wilson formally declared the formation of the Terran Empire, a name chosen deliberately to signal humanity's new status. Unlike the Council's hierarchical structure, the Empire offered equal representation to all member species. "We stand not just for human independence," Wilson announced in a broadcast sent throughout known space, "but for the freedom of all species to determine their own path." The Council has ruled through fear and suppression of knowledge for too long. On a dozen Council worlds, protests erupted. Species that had never questioned their place now demanded answers about the predecessors, about restricted technologies, about the true history of the galaxy. The Council found itself fighting not just a war against humans, but a battle for its very legitimacy. And with each passing day, more of its member species looked to the stars, where the human fleet waited. Dr. Anna Green didn't look like someone who could shake the foundations of galactic politics. At 56, the archaeologist had spent most of her life studying the predecessors. Now, surrounded by the most sophisticated analysis equipment humanity had developed, she stared at the translated text on her screen with growing horror. "This can't be right," she whispered, though she knew the translation was accurate. The data had come from a predecessor archive discovered on a dead world near the galactic core, far older and more complete than any previous find. She activated her communication terminal. "I need to speak with Admiral Wilson immediately. Priority Alpha." 2 days later, Anna stood before the Empire's War Council, her hands trembling slightly as she prepared to share her discovery. "The Council isn't just suppressing technology," she began. "They're harvesting entire worlds." The room fell silent as she displayed images from the archive. The predecessors documented the early Council's activities. The founding species, the ones they call the Elders, established the Council not as a peacekeeping organization, but as a resource management system. Anna showed recordings of massive extraction ships stripping planets bare. They identified promising species, guide their development along predictable technological paths, then integrate them into the Council structure once they reach a certain level. Each new species provides fresh resources, labor, and territory. "Are you saying the Council is some kind of farm?" asked one of the military leaders. "More like a carefully managed ecosystem," Anna replied. "The Elders ensure that member species develop only approved technologies, ones that pose no threat to their control. Species that develop along unapproved lines, like the predecessors, are eliminated or quarantined." "Like humans," Wilson said quietly. "Exactly. We were developing too quickly, in too many different directions. The quarantine wasn't about our aggression. It was about controlling our potential." The most disturbing revelation came last. Anna displayed images of massive structures hidden deep in Council space. "These are consciousness repositories. The Elders aren't just a founding species, they're effectively immortal. They transfer their minds to new bodies, maintaining the same leadership for thousands of years. The Council members we interact with are merely their representatives." The implications were staggering. The Council wasn't just an oppressive government, it was an ancient system of exploitation that had manipulated galactic civilization for millennia. "We need to share this information," Wilson decided, "not just with our allies, but with every Council world." Over the next month, human intelligence agents infiltrated major Council worlds. Using technology based on predecessor designs, they bypassed Council security and gained access to public communication networks. On a single day, at a precisely coordinated moment, the truth was broadcast across the galaxy. Every screen on every Council world showed the same evidence: the hidden history of the Elders, the true purpose of the Council, the systematic suppression of technology and knowledge. The reaction was immediate. On the more industrialized Council worlds, citizens took to the streets demanding answers. On others, government officials scrambled to distance themselves from the Elders. On Meridian, a major Council manufacturing world, the local governor publicly renounced the Council and requested Empire protection. 3 other worlds followed within days. The Council responded with military force, dispatching fleets to rebellious worlds. But their control was slipping. Ships' crews mutinied. Colonial administrators declared independence. The Elders are mobilizing their personal forces, reported Empire intelligence. Weapons platforms hidden throughout Council space are activating. Wilson addressed an emergency session of the Empire leadership. The Elders won't surrender control easily. They've maintained power for thousands of years and have contingency plans we can't imagine. As reports flooded in of Council atrocities against rebellious worlds, the Empire faced its greatest challenge. The war had evolved from a fight for human independence to a galaxy-wide revolution. "We started this," Wilson told his commanders. "Now we need to finish it. Prepare the fleet for a push toward the Council core worlds." The final phase of the conflict would determine not just humanity's future, but the fate of all galactic civilization. The Empire's forces, now joined by ships from defecting Council worlds, prepared for the decisive battle. The combined fleet assembled at the edge of Council core space was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. 3,000 human vessels formed its backbone, their hulls gleaming with the distinctive shimmer of predecessor-inspired technology. Alongside them flew ships from 17 former Council species, each bringing their own unique capabilities. Admiral Jack Wilson stood on the bridge of the Defiance, now expanded and upgraded to serve as the fleet's command center. At 65, his hair had gone completely white, but his eyes remained as sharp and determined as ever. "All fleet elements report ready, Admiral," said his communications officer. Wilson nodded. "Send the message." A transmission went out across all frequencies, directed at the Council's capital world. "This is Admiral Wilson of the Terran Empire. We demand the immediate surrender of the Elder Council and the dismantling of all suppression systems throughout Council space. You have 6 hours to respond." No reply came. Intelligence reports showed massive energy readings around the Council's central planet, defensive systems activating on a scale never before witnessed. They had thousands of years to prepare for this moment, Wilson told his officers. "Expect the unexpected." The fleet jumped into Council space, emerging just beyond the range of the defensive platforms. Immediately, hundreds of Council warships moved to intercept them. "They're deploying some kind of energy web," reported the sensor officer, "attempting to create a barrier similar to the one they used on Earth." Wilson smiled grimly. "Deploy the pulse devices." Small, unmanned vessels shot forward, penetrating the forming energy web. When they detonated, waves of disruption spread through the Council formations, disabling their most advanced weapons. "Predecessor countermeasures," Wilson explained to the Allied commanders. "They developed defenses against Elder technology long ago." The battle raged for hours, with losses on both sides. The Council's numerical advantage was balanced by the Allies' technological edge. Slowly, the Empire forces pushed toward the capital. As they approached the inner defense perimeter, the Council revealed its final weapon: massive planet-based cannons capable of destroying entire fleets. Evasive action, Wilson ordered as the first blasts tore through space. 3 Allied cruisers vanished in blinding flashes. The situation seemed dire until an unexpected message arrived from within the Council defenses. "This is Commander Trell of the Meridian Defense Force. We've captured the Western Hemisphere Control Center. We can disable the planetary cannons, but only for 8 minutes." Wilson didn't hesitate. "All ships, prepare for maximum acceleration on my mark. Strike teams, ready for deployment." He took a deep breath. Mark. The Allied fleet surged forward, enduring devastating fire from the remaining defenses. Landing craft shot toward the planet's surface, carrying elite forces from a dozen species. The fighting on the planet was fierce but brief. The Elders had relied too heavily on their technology and were unprepared for ground combat. Within hours, the central government complex was secured. In the Elder Council chamber, Wilson faced the beings who had ruled the galaxy for millennia. They looked physically unimpressive, small gray creatures with oversized heads and delicate limbs. "Your empire is finished," Wilson told them. "Your suppression systems are being dismantled. Your subject worlds are free." The lead elder spoke, its voice surprisingly deep. "You understand nothing. We maintained order. Without us, the galaxy will descend into chaos." "Perhaps," Wilson replied, "but it will be the natural chaos of freedom, not the artificial order of tyranny." 3 months later, representatives from over 200 species gathered on New Terra. The Galactic Alliance was formally established, a true coalition of equals, with rotating leadership and transparent governance. Wilson, now appointed as Earth's representative, addressed the first session. "We have all been victims of the Elders' manipulation," he said. "Some, like humanity, were quarantined. Others were guided down predetermined technological paths. Still others were used as resource providers. Today we declare that age over." The new alliance embraced the free exchange of knowledge. Predecessor archives were open to all. Restricted technologies were studied under careful protocols rather than suppressed entirely. Most importantly, no species would dictate the development of another. The mistakes of both the Council and the predecessors served as warnings about the dangers of unchecked power. As Wilson looked across the chamber at former enemies now working as partners, he reflected on humanity's journey. From prisoners in their own solar system to architects of a new galactic order, all in just 2 centuries. The Council had banned humanity, fearing what they might become. Now those fears had been realized, but in a way no one could have predicted. The human empire had indeed risen, but its greatest achievement wasn't conquest. It was liberation.